My name is Emily, and for 8 years, I believed my own grandfather had chosen my brother over me.
The day my grandfather died, I lost the only person who ever truly believed in me. A few weeks later,
the people she trusted most stole her future, and for 8 years, they thought they had gotten away with it. But hidden inside an old envelope was a secret powerful enough to destroy every lie they had built, a secret her grandfather had protected until the perfect moment. And when that letter finally arrived, an entire family was forced to face the truth. But before we get to that letter, you need to understand what Emily lost, and what her family never expected her to become. This is Broken Then Powerful, where pain turns into power. The letter of inheritance. Mother divided what was rightfully mine. My story locked tight in my brother's fist. A bond of blood, yet cheaper than blood itself. Love turned to trade and the heart's wound fresh. Then grandfather's letter arrived, unveiling secrets. Years of silence finally found a voice. What was taken from me? It was mine. That yellowed paper stood witness to the cruelty. No grief for wealth, no sorrow for land, only looted by my own, my dignity, my all. Emily Carter grew up in a family where love always seemed to come with conditions. Her younger brother Ryan was the favorite. Everyone knew it. Nobody talked about it. If Ryan succeeded, the family celebrated. If Emily succeeded, people simply expected it. If Ryan made mistakes, he was forgiven. If Emily made mistakes, she was reminded of them for years. She spent most of her life trying to earn a level of love that seemed to come naturally to everyone else. The only person who treated her differently was Grandpa. He saw her. He listened. He noticed the tears she hid behind polite smiles. Sometimes he would simply sit beside her without saying a word. And somehow, that always helped. One evening, while they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Grandpa told her something she would never forget. Never let anyone decide your worth, Emily. At the time, she smiled. Years later, those words would save her life. But they didn't know. Grandpa already feared what would happen after he was gone. When Grandpa passed away, Emily felt as though a piece of her heart disappeared with him. The funeral was filled with tears, promises, hugs, and speeches about family, but something didn't feel right. A few weeks later, Emily's mother called everyone together. The announcement came suddenly. Cold. Final. Your grandfather left everything to Ryan. Emily stared in disbelief. Everything? The savings, the investments, the family property, everything. Gone. Handed to her brother. Just like that. No explanation, no discussion, no evidence. Only one painful reality. The grandfather she trusted more than anyone appeared to have chosen someone else. The room felt smaller. The air felt heavier. And for the first time in her life, Emily felt completely alone. That night she cried until sunrise. Not because of the money, but because she believed she had lost the one person who truly understood her. What she didn't know was that the biggest lie had only just begun. Months turned into years. Emily stopped arguing, stopped defending herself, stopped trying to convince people to see her value. Instead, she quietly rebuilt her life. She worked during the day, studied at night, took extra courses, started a small consulting business from her tiny apartment. The journey wasn't glamorous. There were nights she couldn't sleep. Months she doubted herself. Moments she wanted to quit. But every painful memory became fuel. Every rejection became motivation. Every injustice became a reason to keep going. And every Sunday evening, she baked the same apple pie Grandpa used to love. She would place 2 plates on the table, then quietly remove one before dinner, because some habits survive even after the people we love are gone. Nobody knew about those moments. Nobody saw the tears. Nobody heard the conversation she still had with him in her heart. But they mattered, more than anyone realized. Then something unexpected happened. A man named Daniel entered her life. He wasn't rich. He wasn't flashy. And he didn't care about family drama. When people talked about inheritance, he changed the subject. When people discussed money, he asked about her dreams. One evening after a difficult day, he looked at her and asked a simple question. "Are you okay?" Emily froze, because after everything she had been through, nobody had asked her that in years. For the first time, she felt seen again, but they didn't know life was preparing something far bigger. 8 years after Grandpa's death, a certified envelope arrived at her office. No return address, no explanation, just her name. At first, she almost ignored it. Then she noticed something. The handwriting. Her heart stopped. She recognized it instantly. Grandpa. Her hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter written shortly before his death, a letter that had been hidden for 8 years. The first few lines brought tears to her eyes. Then she reached the middle, and everything changed. "Emily, if you're reading this, then my greatest fear became reality. Someone changed what I intended for you, and I need you to know something before you believe their version of the story. You were never the child who mattered less. You were the child I worried about most, because your kindness was always mistaken for weakness." Emily could barely breathe. Tears rolled down her face. For 8 years, she believed she had been abandoned. For 8 years, she believed she wasn't enough. And now, the truth stood right in front of her. But Grandpa wasn't finished. Attached to the letter were legal documents, copies of his original instructions, evidence, proof, records showing that his inheritance had always been meant to be divided fairly. The room seemed to spin. Everything her family told her had been a lie. But what happened next changed everything. Grandpa had prepared one final surprise, a secret trust, created years before his death, protected from interference, protected from manipulation, protected specifically for Emily, while everyone focused on the inheritance they thought she lost. Grandpa quietly secured her future. The trust had grown for years. Investments, assets, properties, opportunities. It was worth several times more than what had originally been taken from her. Emily sat in stunned silence. Not because of the money, but because even after death, Grandpa had found a way to protect her. When the truth became public, chaos followed. Family members demanded answers. Relatives who ignored her suddenly wanted conversations. The same people who once doubted her now wanted forgiveness. Eventually, another family meeting was called. But this time, Emily walked into the room differently. Not angry, not bitter, not seeking revenge. She walked in with peace. The attorney presented the documents, one after another. The evidence was undeniable. Nobody argued. Nobody interrupted. Nobody denied the truth. The room went silent. Her mother lowered her head. Ryan couldn't meet her eyes. Years of deception collapsed in a matter of minutes. Everything they thought they knew was wrong. Everything they believed was secure disappeared. And for the first time in her life, Emily didn't need anyone's approval, because she finally understood something. Grandpa had tried to teach her all along. Her worth had never depended on their opinion. Her value had never depended on their acceptance. And her future had never belonged to them. Years later, Emily used part of her success to create scholarships for young women chasing impossible dreams. She wanted others to have the opportunity she almost lost. Every year she visited Grandpa's grave, not to mourn, but to say thank you, because his greatest gift was never money. It was belief. Belief in her strength, belief in her future, belief in who she could become. Have you ever been underestimated by someone you trusted? Tell us where you're watching from. The United States? Canada? The United Kingdom? Australia? Or somewhere else in the world? And if you've ever experienced betrayal, family conflict, or a moment when someone doubted you, share your story in the comments. We read every single one. And your story might inspire someone who needs hope today. Subscribe to Broken Then Powerful for more stories like this, because sometimes the people who try to erase your story end up becoming a chapter in your success, and those who underestimate you often become witnesses to your rise.